Hello everyone, this is John for PokerVIP.com, and in this video we're doing a player review for Mattusko, who I've actually had the pleasure of talking to a lot recently. Sadly it was over something not good. To find out more about that, go to the PokerVIP.com marketplace inside the forum. But he seems to be a really good guy, loves to play the game. He's playing 20-0 on Stan James, as you can see now. That's the MPN or Micro Gaming Network, which you've probably seen before. The same as Bet Victor. He basically wanted a review to just see how I thought he was playing, to see if I can find any leaks, and to just point him in the right direction a little bit more. One thing I can see straight away is actually the bottom two tables are anonymous, and the top two tables are regular. So we might not see the HUD stats for the bottom two. I think it only works for PT4, but might not be too accurate. But he has shown us here what his HUD is, which is great for us to see. So as you can see, we'll use this CRYM guy at the top to have a look here. So we've got the standard VPIP, PFR 3-bet and Folder 3-bet. All really standard stats there. Everything that's usable. And I think that's always a really good top line to have. You know, the straightforward ones, but adding in that Folder 3-bet alongside the 3-bet I think works well and is easy to follow. Then the second line, button steal, small blind steal, big blind fold to steal, re-steal, 3-bet versus steal, and fold to 3-bet in position. Quite interesting HUD stats to have there on your second line. I haven't seen many people with that at all. I guess he's going to be concentrating a lot on stealing and how people react to steal and how often people do steal, which is why he's got that line in. And that's something I definitely have recommended in the past to people and will always say, you know, to change it up a little bit. If you're concentrating on an area, adding that into your HUD and taking something out whilst you're concentrating on improving there is an absolute no-brainer. You know, it's easier for you to follow. And, you know, it will just help you, you know, improve quicker in those areas without using your pop-up. Bottom line, flop C-bet, turn C-bet, fold flop to C-bet. Sorry, flop fold to C-bet and turn fold to C-bet. All really good stats there and ones that I can follow. I'll have this on my other monitor, so if a situation comes up which will include these stats, it'll be easy for me to identify. So like I say, quite interesting there. He's changed it up. It's obviously not the default HUD. It's his 6 max basic HUD from what he's wrote there in the HEM2 manager. But then he's actually showed his sizing. So early position, 3 big blinds. Mid position and cutoff, he does 2.5x, which is interesting. Button he min raises. And small blind he 3x's again. It's interesting that he's 2.5x in the mid position and cutoff. I've not actually seen much of that before. I've definitely seen people opening smaller in the cutoff, but never from mid position. You know, a lot of people open 3 big blinds from everywhere. Then in the cutoff, 2.5 big blinds, and then on the button, the min, you know, the 2 big blinds. Or some people just 3 big blinds from everywhere, then min the button. So that's interesting. We'll see how that works out. And we'll also see what his reasoning is for that in the comments below at the end of this video. So like I say, 4 tables, Stan James, 20-0, 2 anonymous tables at the bottom, 2 regular tables at the top, and we'll launch into it, see what he's doing, how he's playing, and do a conclusion for him at the end. So, Queen straight away, just opens the button, gets a walk. Looked like he actually 3x'd that to me there. Let me rewind that. Oh, no, okay, I see. He's got the buttons are just a bit different. Raise 2 or raise, you know, add on. You can change that in the settings, but that's fine. I was sure he'd be following his own bet sizing opens, but I thought he might have just made a quick mistake. But all pretty standard stuff. A lot, you know, I always just min raise the button. Actually, he didn't min raise. He 2.5x it there, right? Interesting. King Queen here. The guy's a little looser. We can just call here, I think, with King Queen. I don't think we always have to 3-bet. I think folding's a bit too tight versus someone who opens 27%. It'll be interesting to see his under the gun VPIP. I think we should always be looking at that when we've got a hand like King Queen in the cutoff versus someone who looks looser than the norm. Has the sort of, you know, the dice there to be a bit of a gambly player as one of the badges on HEM2. And King Queen to me would be absolutely fine to flat pre-with there. We could even think about 3-betting if he if he likes to call a lot of 3-bets. The guy's there fold to 3-bet there is only 50% as well. So maybe 3-betting could be a really nice play with King Queen. You know, he's going to call with hands that we dominate. He's going to call with, you know, the smaller pairs that we can win, you know, with a lot of C-bets on decent flops. So I think that was a good spot to either flat or 3-bet. I think folding would be the last thing I do versus a player like that. But I do understand when someone opens, you know, under the gun, we kind of think King Queen shrivels up a bit. But I think in that spot it's fine. Ace-9 we decide to peel. I like that. Definitely a hand we want to be defending with. We can never fold it. So it comes down, do we fold, do we re-raise? Sorry, do we call or do we re-raise? Getting my words mixed up there, sorry. Be a pretty standard check call here. Guy bet's pretty big, 19 to 105. That's a little worrying. But we don't know what this guy's standard C-bet sizing is, so we can't really think about it too much, especially with our hand. You know, second pair, top kicker, versus a button, versus a C-bet. Not really, you know, too scared, but not too happy once he bets 19 to 105. You know, we'd normally expect to see around half pot. It's interesting that he checked really quick on that turn. 7-8 obviously gets there, but I don't think that's a huge part of our range. So would this guy check 10s or jacks on the turn? Possibly. Would he check a queen? I don't think ever. Does he bet that sort of sizing with a 6 or a worse 9? I don't think so. So I'd say this guy generally has nothing or a hand that might not call. So I might actually just check here and bluff catch with my ace-9. Just because I don't think he's got that great of a hand, and I think a couple of hands that he could have actually beat us. So, you know, instantly I thought, okay, we can just lead the river if it goes check, check. But the more I think about it, I just don't see him showing up with that much of a hand here. So I might just check there to try and induce a bluff. King, Queen, I'll be opening under the gun. He's gone for 160. You know, it is a good value bet because, you know, like I say, we will be ahead a decent amount of time. I just don't think he's got anything. And like I say, I think the times he had something might just be slightly better than our hand. So I think I go for a nice check call there. But nothing out of the ordinary to just, you know, lead those rivers because we're pretty sure we're ahead. But we like to get called. We like to maybe give someone some options to put some money in the pot when we've got the best hand. King Queen versus a tight player who flatted the button. I think we could bet here and barrel a lot of good turns. We could even go for a delay C-bet. This guy folds 50% of the time to a C-bet. So I expect we're going to get floated, especially when he calls in position. Ace Queen here, I like a raise. You know, I like to go 180 minimum, 210 max. I sometimes go slightly bigger than 3x when out of position. You know, I like to go like €2 here. Good fault for us there. Obviously, we can represent the king. But also, we do have the nut flush draw and an overcard. 260, really nice sizing. And we're basically never folding at this point. The guy's not going to have ace-king that often. He could have a set of sevens, a set of deuces. But a lot of times, he's just going to fold when we win without showdown. But a lot of times where he calls, we can obviously barrel, turn, and rivers, or, you know, bet once we hit. So, pretty straightforward play there. I actually call Mattusko Mats as short. So I'll probably say that throughout. Okay, so he's min-raised the button on table 2 now. Back to his standard open. 7-8 definitely falling into that category. I always have a feeling that Mats is just going to be like a really good player. And like there's just going to be very little that, you know, comes from a conclusion for someone like him. Just from like what I say, I've talked to him a lot recently. And the guy seems to have a pretty good, you know, poker brain, but not just like a poker brain, but just like he understands the poker world, you know, very well. Like he's been around for a long time. 7-8, we went for a check on the flop. I think that's fine, although we can bet because we can get called by draws on the flop. And you know, like hands like 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s will probably peel. But once we go for the check and we turn 2 pair, we're going to go ahead and bet. Even if we didn't turn the 2 pair, we could also just go ahead and bet there as well. Queen 8 suited, I think I'd like to see an open here. Bit of a loose player in the big blind who's probably going to peel. Someone's already open ahead of us. It's that CRYM guy again. I'm thinking we start to 3-bet this dude a little bit. He opens a lot. He doesn't fall to 3-bets a lot. So when he's out of position, let's put on some pressure. Queens versus an undergun open versus a tag standard player. We've gone for a 3-bet of 180. Again, you know, we could even go to €2 here. Just basically get more value for our hand. We get called. Flop a set on a wet board. I'd just like a straightforward bet here. I think 250 is really nice. The guy's obviously going to fold all of his mid pairs, but we're not going to get action from those anyway. But if the guy's got like an ace, he's going to call. If he's got a combo, he's going to call. If he's got a flush draw, he's going to call. 2-pair, he's going to call, even though we've got blockers to that. So there's lots we can get called by. And the hands that we don't get action from generally won't give us any action anyway on turn or river. So it's absolutely fine to just go ahead and bet here. And I just never expect to see this guy showing up with Jack King, obviously. You could have aces sometimes, but I'm pretty confident we'll be ahead there if we get a lot of action. We actually just face a fold, but not that surprised by that. But I think our play is absolutely standard, given the circumstance. We open the 5s. Because we are slightly deeper, it's not as bad to call. But yeah, I like the fold anyway for player behind us. The Queen 10 there, I would have 3-bet this CRYM guy. He's opening all the time, and I think we've got to pound this guy in position. And like I say, he's actually folding less to 3-bets now. It says 33%. So this guy's obviously just like the fish at the table, and I think we should be really jumping on him. Ace-5 offsuit, standard fold under the gun. Can open Ace-5 suited. Big pot going on there on the bottom left table. Huge bet, 520 on the turn, gets called. Be interested to see what these two guys show up with. 6-4, I'm fine to fold, even versus the button open. If the small blind didn't 3-bet, I'll be going ahead and folding that there and then as well. All in on bottom table. It's always nice just railing other people as well. Really like the Stan James skin. They've really improved it recently. It's always been one of my favourites, but it's even slicker and smoother now. And they're really marketing to like attract a lot of fish. 7-9, well, I've got to stop saying fish. You know, fun players, recreational players. 7-9 suited could have been a good 3-bet spot there versus an unknown button versus cutoff. Be interested to know what Matt's 3-bet is. I imagine it's quite small, like 4 or 5%, if that. Eight 10 suited again, maybe another good spot here to 3-bet. You know, these guys are opening enough. We don't have stats on them, I know, but that doesn't mean we just have to fold every hand. A lot of people open, and then they fold out of position versus a 3-bet. If we've got something, you know, playable, like 8-10 suited, and we don't want to flat with it, well, then maybe we should 3-bet it. If he calls, we can play the pot in position. We don't have to hit our hand to obviously win money. We can win with C-bets, we can rep boards, we can barrel, we can do a lot of good stuff. Or if he just folds pre-flop, that's absolutely fine as well. So, like, maybe we flat like 9-10 suited, and maybe we 3-bet 8-10 and 7-10 suited. 8s we called an undergun open versus one of the traditional tag players playing 21-16 7.1. On a board like this, I'd be just opting to check fold. Even if we are ahead now, there's going to be a lot of bad turns and rivers for us to continue on. So I'd be happy to just give this guy the benefit of the doubt here and know that playing out of position with 8s on a Jack 10 deuce board with 2 diamonds is not going to be a lot of fun. Anyone else watching this video, by the way, you can get free reviews by me like this. You know, 30, 45-minute free review. All you have to do is go to the Poker VIP forum and go to the Poker Strategy subforum. And at the top, you'll see free reviews for everyone as a stickied and pinned forum thread. All you need is 10 posts to get one. But make sure they're good posts. We give you all the instructions, the screen recorder. And yeah, it's just, you know, free coaching. Because we're not playing speed tables, there's obviously not going to be action, action, action. So there may be a quiet spell. Pocket threes here, like again versus this guy. I think we should be at least calling and playing the pot in position. I mean, like, all the action has been driven by him. We don't know if he's like good at playing these pots out of position yet. All we know is that he, you know, opens 32%. Well, sorry, his VPI is 32. PFR is 27, 3-bet 16.1, and he falls to 3-bets only 25% of the time. So that seems like a glorious person to be involved in pots with. Threes I'll probably just opt to fold. Yeah, 6-4 fold. Ace-3 I might just check fold on a board like this. Big versus the big blind's defending range can kind of, you know, hit them straight in the face. Even if they haven't got something right yet, they'll have some sort of draw, and it's just going to be really hard for us to play out of position with this hand. Ace high does have some showdown, of course. So I'll just be checking here in order to take it down. Looks like he's going to bet because the guy would bet all of his jacks and tens and queens and nines and eights on that flop, which makes a lot of sense. That's a good bet. Okay, the guy had ace jack and the guy peeled with sixes. Under the gun, that Maggot 162 guy in table 1. He also seems to be a bit of a recreational player. If I was Mats, I would definitely be marking players a lot more. I think you can mark them like green and red, or like... I see one guy's got a pin on him. The Dizzy fan there, I guess he's marked him as a reg. So yeah, just more marking people of colours. Just nice to be able to look up and see people. You might not need it, but you know, I use a HUD as well. I watch the games closely, and I still like to have, you know, that colour indication on them. King Queen here, definitely going to be 3-betting this guy. I think it's a hand to 3-bet for value versus him. Go for the standard 3x, I like it. King Deuce here, I might go ahead and 3-bet the guy, because we are always going to fold, we're never going to peel, so I might go ahead and 3-bet. And I know it sounds a bit weird to go ahead and 3-bet like King Deuce as someone who only folds 25% of the time. But, you know, he would be out of position there, small blind versus big blind, and we're not going to be peeling with it, so maybe we just go for a straightforward 3-bet bluff. King Queen here, we're going for the C-bet. I think that's fine for now. We don't know how this guy reacts once checked to in 3-bet pots, so a straightforward play with, you know, a strong hand would be to go ahead and bet. I think we just go for a bet again. This guy doesn't look like someone who's going to just, you know, call, flop, then fold. I think he's going to be a chaser. So I would bet pretty big here. I'd bet like 5-10, 5-20. Ace-10 here is an easy fold for me. This guy could just be punting. But that's not much of an issue. I would have gone slightly bigger on this turn just because there are a lot of draws. And, you know, I would have liked there to have been like 18, 20 in the middle. And then be jamming, you know, 13 into it. Just so it's not as big of a jam. Looks like he's going to check King Queen here. I'd just go for a straightforward jam. I guess he's trapping the guy. I guess he's putting the guy on more draws than made hands. I'm pretty confident we're ahead, like 99.9% sure. So I assume this is a check to induce. I'm just not too sure how often this guy will punt off a full stack because we just haven't seen it. And maybe he's got some history with him, but after running 94 hands, I imagine not in this situation anyway. And the reason I would jam here is if the guy has like a jack, you'd probably find it hard to fold. He might not believe us. When the draws miss, people like to call us lighter. If he's got a hand like King 10, don't want this guy to bet a half pot on us to just call, for example, and miss out on that value. But yeah, the reason to check is to induce. Or we could just go for a standard bet jam. But like I say, bet extra euro on the turn. So there'd be an extra €2 in there, and an extra and €1 less in your stack. So jamming the river, you give this guy more of a price. And it doesn't look as strong. The guy checks, he shows a jack. Not too sure if the guy calls all in with that, but we've got to give the guy a chance to. Looks like we overcalled with face 9 when the button open small blind calls. I would have actually liked the squeeze there, to be honest. The small blind looks like a recreational player because he's not got a full stack. So we could have probably just squeezed there and got a heads up versus him, or just taking it down pre. We could even lead this flop 3-way. Top pair, top kicker, wet board. Going to be playing out of position. It would have been nice to have just taken it down, I think. Definitely leading this turn now, and I'd lead pretty big. I'd lead about 120, 130. Just because if someone's going to call 80, they're going to call 1, they're going to call 110, they're going to call 120, because they're going to have a pair or they're going to have a decent draw. But we bet smaller, we take it down. Deuces here, we've been 3-bet, we're in position, there is a fish in the small blind. We are deep, so I think this is a call. Sevens here, our position versus a 28-24, 7.5. Probably just find a fold there, yeah. Deuces here, betting pretty hefty, you know, 280, 290. Expect to get check raised a decent amount of time by hands like aces with ace of hearts or something like that. Or even like a hand like ace queen with a heart. So yeah, very happy to bet. 280 into 380, I like it. Definitely a spot where you can bet big because people are going to check call and check raise a lot. The guy went for a check call somewhat worries me. People love to slow play like the flop nut flush, but we can never be scared of that when we got this hand. He's also going to play like 2 black kings like this. He's going to play, you know, aces with ace of hearts like this. He's basically just going to induce or check jam turns. So we can't be too worried about the fact that he could have flopped a flush, because it will generally be the nut flush if he is slow playing it. Definitely don't think this guy's ever got a set. I don't think he really 3-bets 8s or 4s that often. And I think he just generally leads the flop. So, you know, we just need to get value from, you know, those pocket pairs that I mentioned. So here I'd go probably like 7. Yeah, if we go 7, there'll be like 23 in the pot. We'll have 18 back, something like that. So I think that's absolutely fine to do. Could even maybe go slightly bigger. 720, I think that's fine. Whoops, excuse me. 710, I like it. Queen 9, definitely a min raise there for me. Got a feeling we're going to get check jammed on here. And obviously it'll be a call. 10 jack suited, we open them fold to a 3-barrel position, that's fine. Especially versus a good player. Oh, that's interesting. The guy tank folds. Unsure what he's got there. Ace Jack, we've been 3-bet. Not seen this guy 3-bet before. I might opt to fold. I find that when people squeeze, you know, cutoff versus the big blind versus the cutoff, and they're not as weak as they'd be like big blind versus button. But once we have called and we hit top with the nut flush draw, it's just going to be a really simple flat call for me here. 9s, I like us just a solid bet. We're going to get floated a lot on this flop, so we can get some serious value there. He's also going to call us with some hands that are good hands, but that we beat, you know, worse 1 pairs. 9s here, I'll probably go for a check call. Like I say, this guy's going to float the flop a lot. You know, even with like overcards, ace highs, so like we get a bet from him there. By betting the turn, we just blow up the pot. If we get raised, we've got to fold, so I might just go for a check call line. Ace Jack, I'm just calling. King Jack suited, I'm folding. Looks like he's just going to go for a jam with his ace jack suited. I guess he thinks worse is going to call, because I don't think better's ever folding. Well, I know better's never folding. So I guess he thinks king jack type hands are going to call him. I guess. Like, there's nothing really to protect our hand versus, basically. Because we've got, like, blockers. So I'll probably just go for a call and call any river. You know, if the guy wants to bet jam, that's fine. If the guy checks through, we can bet. Yeah, generally just call here. Not too keen on the jam. Just because we get his air to fold and we get better to call. So I don't think we achieved that much. I guess Jack King with the King of Hearts does call us, but we have blockers to that. And it's quite a narrow range to put the guy on. We've gone for it anyway. I mean, no matter what calls us, we've got equity, obviously. You know, if they've got like queens or kings with a heart, then, you know, we've got the ace jack or the heart to get there. If they've got a set, we've got a heart to hit. If they've got a flush, we've got a heart to hit. Not the best situation in the world, but I just like to call these. I let people bomb it off, you know, with the ace kings or ace queens with a heart. You know, just sit back, call. Happy days, easy game. 6-9 suited, I just fold. We could maybe start 3-betting, you know, from the small blind versus the button a little bit more. Like I say, our 3-bet's so low, it seems. Like, we've only really 3-bet the nuts. Like nutted hands, like King Queen versus a guy who opens a lot. So I think we're going to have to really open up our 3-bets. 8-10 suited here, I might go for a raise, and I might make it like 420 and just try and take it down pre-flop. If not, you know, be, you know, in control of a pot with 8-10 suited versus the loose guy. Basically, if a bad player limps, someone's going to isolate in position, which is basically what happened there. So we can re-isolate or just take it down. King 8 and Jack 5 are a fold. 8-9's a fold. I think 8-9 in position versus this guy, we should just go ahead and 3-bet him. Just play a lot of pots in position versus him in 3-bet pots. You know, like just really start to pound on him. Like this Ace Jack suited is definitely going to be a 3-bet for me if he opens. Queen 8, we can open blind beat blind. King Queen's an open. Ace Jack versus this 23-20 guy. He falls to 3-bet 60% of the time. We could probably just call there. You know, no real need to 3-bet, but you know, fine to do. You know, it's quite a standard line, but I don't mind, you know, mixing up between just calling and defending my button. Queen 8, I just go for another check again. I like these checks, you know, just check call down. We get cold called by this Dizzy guy who's like a good reg. Kaisun calls, who's, you know, this mid-stack reg. I might go ahead and just check here. Dizzy fan's going to have a lot of pocket pairs. He's also going to have a lot of ace queens. Kaisen again, a lot of pocket pairs as well, a lot of suit connectors. Well, not that many suit connectors, but more pocket pairs. So I think I'll probably just shut down with this ace high. You know, just try and hope to improve basically on the turn or river. We value bet our queen. I think that's fine. Just not too sure what's going to call us, so I might just go for a check call again. Ace Jack here, I opt to fold. Ace Jack versus a loose player on the button. I like to 3-bet for value on table 2. 3x will do just fine. Absolutely okay to c-bet here. Ace-9 off in the cutoff on table 3. I'm happy to go ahead and open as well. I think that's in most people's standard opening, cut-off opening range. Takes it down, which is always nice. 6-10, I'll probably just fold blind versus blind. Ace-7 I wouldn't defend with. Guys falls to 3-bet 69%, so I might, you know, start 3-betting him a lot when in position. You're going to get a lot of folds there. You're even going to get a lot of folds when out of position. Ace-7 offsuit might not be the best hand to do it with, though. Ace-9, I like a bet. You know, we've got the gut shot, we've got the ace of spades. Been snap raised, and it's a huge raise, so obviously a no-brainer fold here. Ace-9 of spades would obviously just have to go with it. This guy's repping, you know, a big draw, 2-pair set type hand. On a board like that. Ace-9, we get 2 callers, a reg and a new player. I think we're going to be okay to go ahead and bet, though. I don't expect them to have that many ace-10s, ace-jacks, ace-queens, and ace-kings. So I'm going to have a lot of pocket pairs, a couple of worst aces. So I would have been fine betting there. Really happy to bet the turn for pure value, though. And I like this small half-pot bet, actually. I really like that. We guess these guys have pretty much nothing, so we want to get value. So we can go pretty small there. Obviously, there's no draws out, so we can even maybe go smaller, you know, just literally hope for a crying call. You know, it's one of those things like, what's the point of betting if you know you're not going to get called when you've got a big hand? So I like the fact that he went small there. Really nice play. But could even maybe just go 40. We could even maybe check that turn, try and induce some bluffs, bet on the river. Just really nothing to protect our hand from, basically. And, you know, if someone leaves the river, we're just flying anyway, so we really risk very little by playing it that way. Just making some notes. I promise you I'm not typing on Facebook. 5-6 suited, we could probably just go ahead and raise there and like take control of the pot. But it's definitely not bad to just check. On this flop I'd probably lead, like half pot, 2/3 pot. We're going to get called by worse, you know, there's lots of really good turn cards for us. The guy pot bets are here, so I'm pretty easy check call with everything that we've got. Bad turn card for us, now I'd be like wanting to check fold. Pretty much as bad as the turn card can get for our hand. Then I'll just be hoping this river goes check check as well. Betting here, I guess we're bluffing, but I'm not too sure what better hands he folds. And I don't think he's going to call us with a 4, so I actually don't like this bet. I think we open ourselves up to get called by better here. Yeah, 8-9. Felt like that was a bad bet. Way too thin, and as a bluff, it just is not going to work in that spot. Being min-raised by this guy is obviously a weak, fishier player. Very easy just flat call with the Queen 10 suited though. No point 4 betting, folding would just be atrocious. So we can call getting 6-1 in position with this nice hand. Flop second pair, this will be interesting. I guess this guy's going to pot bet or something, just to make our life a little bit more difficult. You know, what goes from an easy to play hand becomes a bit more of a stressful hand. The guy's actually checked, so I would probably check back here just to control the size of the pot and to let this guy lead a lot of turns and rivers. 7-10 suited, I might go probably for a fold actually with that guy. Yeah, calling's better than 3-betting, I think. But probably just opt to fold our position versus these two players. Queen 10, easy call. We do finally face that pot size bet. Generally when I see this line of check pot, like check, flop, pot, turn, it normally goes check on the river. And they have like ace queen or something random, but yeah, I'm just checking back basically. Guy jack 9 spades, interesting. Should really just be bombing off on us on that board, but I don't think there's much we can get value from there on the river. You know, a few of the hands that they take that line with is a hand that can beat us, you know, have us outkicked, or is just nothing that will call us, you know, like a misdraw there. Well, we're actually leading with this 7-10 suit. I like that play. Once it goes check-check, we really do rep some strength by leading this turn. We've been raised. What the hell is going on here? You don't see that every day. And a call. Okay. Okay. Interesting. These games look fun. Is this when Dixie Fan checks, CM bets, and Dixie Fan goes all in or something random? Nope. Just a huge bet and a fold. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so we're going to pause the live play there. We're going to run out in a couple of minutes anyway. And I'll drop a conclusion. It's going to be a very short conclusion. Because there's only one major thing that's that we can do here. And that's actually going to be looking back at a couple of hands. So I'll be back shortly with that conclusion. Okay, so for the conclusions, I just listed the positives and negatives. The positives are pretty, you know, not vague, but, you know, like very obvious things that we'll have all seen throughout this video. and you know, things that players of a good skill level will always have. So solid opening range is pretty much an obvious one. I like the opening sizing; it seemed to work fine. However, throughout that video, there wasn't anything that could sort of tell me if it worked well or didn't work well. But you know, 2.5x in the cutoff and sometimes mid position isn't going to change things that much. As long as we do think about changing the bet sizing, say if there's a fish in the big blind who just calls and plays really poorly post flop, maybe we could just go and start 3 or 4xing it from those positions to get action from him. Bet sizing I love throughout. I think his bet sizing throughout was really good. There was only that one thing where I would have bet €1 more just to have set the pot up a little bit bigger. But generally, you know, his c-bet sizing, his delayed c-bet sizing, everything was working nicely. Just only in the big pots he just missed those little tweaks. But you know, in his head he was doing that for a reason. Just for me, I would have done it for a different reason. Good HUD. Straight away saw his HUD. He sent me the notepad of his HUD. Everything on there worked well for what he was doing, and you know, it helped me through that video as well. You know, the fold to 3-bet, the fold to c-bets and everything. Really helped me identify players who we should be picking on a bit more and how we should play versus them post-flop. Nice feel for the game. What do I mean by this? Basically, you could just tell how comfortable he was. You know, nothing seemed rushed, nothing seemed panicked. He seemed to have, you know, played these hands a million times before, and that's, you know, just a really good thing to do. Also putting players on ranges, you know, when he was calling, when it came to value betting, when it came to checking back, he seemed to know pretty much what people had. And, you know, played well, you know, versus that. The only one that was a close one was when we had the King-Queen on the King-Jack-X, X-King, when the flush draw missed versus the looser player. He got what the guy had incorrect, but, like, it's not a bad thing to get that incorrect because, like, the guy is going to be flush draw heavy. I just felt like we should probably be jamming versus him because he seems the type to, you know, hero call just from his stats. And not too sure if he bombs off yet. We just didn't have enough history with him basically to make that like an obvious play. So you could have gone one way or the other there. I was just thinking to go the other way, but obviously I'm not in game. You know, I'm watching this on a review. I haven't watched it before, obviously, but you know, I've got more time to pause the video to think about it. I've obviously seen this spot before. I'm looking from the outside, so nothing wrong with that at all. You know, he's putting the player on the range of having a misdraw, and he wants the guy to bomb it off. That's fine. The rest of the time seem to have it pretty spot on. Negatives. Value bet too thin or bluffed in incorrect spot. Think more. That was with that 5-6 suited hand where we flopped second pair and decided to lead the river, which I didn't understand. I'd love to hear a comment of Matt's there on why we would bet that river. For me, that seems like a really easy check fold spot. I think flop was fine, turn was fine, river just didn't understand it one bit. Not enough 3-bet bluffing, that's the main thing. I'm going to go over a couple of hands where we could have, you know, got a 3-bet in there. Really took advantage of some people. I'm actually going to go back over the video and show that now. Just so we can, you know, identify the spots. Rather than me saying, here's a range that you should 3-bet players with. You know, it's always really good that it's like villain dependent. So we've seen a guy who opens a lot and doesn't fold that often to 3-bets. We've not seen how the guy plays in those 3-bet pots, but we should probably start, you know, 3-bet bluffing this guy a decent amount. And also the people with a high fold to 3-bet percentage and a low VPIP. And that's the same, they're missing spots versus weak players. Pretty much just that same thing on 3-bet bluffing. You know, we should really try and take advantage of them. So I'm going to pull the video back up again. We're going to have a look at a couple of spots where we could 3-bet. And we're going to discuss that in the comments below. Okay, so I've pulled this spot up which happened really early on in the video, pretty much the first hand we played. And this time we didn't have that many stats on this guy. And this isn't like necessarily a 3-bet spot, which I was going to talk about. But as soon as I saw it, I thought, you know, just as a general 3-bet or call spot, you know, the guy's opening 27%. Well, the VPI is 27%, PFR is 24%, 3-bet 17.4%. All these things to me say that he's a looser kind of player, and I can only see him on 2 tables. Obviously, that's the only 2 tables we've got open. So I don't know if he's like a reg who plays every day or if he's just on a couple of tables right now. But he certainly looks like a type of guy we should be playing hands with. And I think King Queen's a fine hand here to flat or 3-bet. 3 betting, like I say, is going to call with dominated hands out of position. But even if we just call, we're going to play in position post-flop versus this guy with a hand that is very rarely dominated by someone like this. Like, this guy's under the gun range. Isn't like a 10% open as far as I know. Sadly, we didn't get to see the pop-up, but I'm just imagining it's not from how often I watched him open throughout the video. So King Queen to me seems to be at least a call here and maybe a 3-bet decision. If you guys could just leave a comment there of what you would do. That would be awesome, but definitely a spot we missed there to play a pot versus a weaker opponent anyway. And like that's to say, that's the main thing about playing poker really, is not missing these spots. So we'll move on to the next hand now. Okay, so this hand on table 2, top right, Queen 8 suited versus this guy. Again, he's opening a lot, we know that. His fold to 3-bet this time is 50%, so it's still good enough here. But like I say, this guy's just opening so much and we're in position versus him. I think this is a really good 3-bet bluff spot for us to, go ahead and play. Basically, Queen 8 suited, obviously it's not the best floppable hand, but it is suited and it is Queen high. If this guy folds, that's absolutely fine. If he calls, we play a pot in position with a suited queen. It's not going to be the end of the world. So this is definitely a spot I think about 3-betting this guy. Even though he is mid-position opening, it doesn't seem to matter with this guy. He's just so loose from all positions that I would really start pounding on him when I am in position. I mean, certainly if we're in the button here and this guy's opening the cutoff, I think this is a must 3-bet. The cutoff versus mid-position, it does change it from maybe not a must to maybe a should, almost should always do it kind of thing. But going forward, I'd like you to pick out these spots versus this player, if he's still on, or versus opponents like this. Again, leave a comment below if you agree or disagree. It'll be interesting to get a bit of chat going about this whilst I move on to the other hand. So straight away, another spot here on table 1 where this guy's opening all the time, pretty much every hand it feels like throughout this session. Where I feel like we could have just 3-bet him and, really sort of annoyed him, put him under a bit of pressure. Now he's only fallen to 3-bet 33% of the time, but it is only over a small sample. And like I say again, we don't know. I mean, if he calls out of position with that sort of range, Queen 10's going to be doing fine versus in position because we're not just trying to hit a hand. We are going to be able to rep a lot of boards. We can also double barrel, triple barrel, bet into draws, value bet. Basically have, the world at our feet there. So again, another spot I think we're missing here to go ahead and 3-bet someone like this. Don't just let them keep opening and winning and winning and winning. Let's put them under some pressure because guess what as well? We need to be sort of balanced here. Like, are we only 3-betting this guy with our real premiums? I think that would be incorrect basically. I think in position, really pound on him. Just like I've said in the previous 2 hands. I'm actually going to leave it there just because that's 3 hands. The rest are very similar. I think there was about 6 or 7 spots throughout the video where we could have done it. But I just wanted to show you a few quick ones where it seemed like a really easy fist pump 3-bet to me, or at least close enough to. And also the first hand I showed in this, we could 3-bet or we could call. Maybe calling's a bit better in that one. I'm going to leave that open though for you guys to comment with in the chat. So this was Mattusko's, or Matt's as I call him, review. Playing 20-L on Stan James. Really enjoyed it. Great player, I think. Just needs to 3-bet more and, pick on people a little bit more. Once you start picking on people and really playing around with fish, especially when they're out of position, you'll just watch your profits climb. And, guess what these guys are going to do? They're gamblers. They're going to start 4-betting you. They're going to start spazzing off. They're going to start never believing you. They're just going to play even worse, basically. So we can sit there and, if we 3-bet Queen 10 off, he finally starts 4-betting, we sort of just laugh, we fold our hand. But then when we start picking up decent hands, we can start 5-bet shoving on him, we can start peeling and trapping. And we basically create this nice dynamic between these gamblers who just like to go off on one. So yeah, please leave a comment about those hands that I showed. If you want to pick out some more hands, yeah, there's plenty there for you to pick out throughout the video that we can talk on. Just leave what time it happened at, and we can discuss that in the comments below, like I've said. Make sure you sign up to Stan James. Loads of things kicking off there, including a lockdown, rake races, their private rake races, and their 30% rake back deal with deposit bonus as well. So this was John for PokerVIP.com, and good luck at the tables.